In the far reaches of North America lies a land where winter isn't just a season. It's a relentless force that shapes every aspect of life. Here, temperatures drop to depths that would claim the unprepared in minutes. The wind howls across endless expanses of snow and ice, carrying with it the promise of death for those who cannot adapt. This is Canada in winter, where survival isn't guaranteed. It's earned through millennia of evolution and the fierce determination to endure what nature throws at even its most resilient inhabitants. Winter for the Canadian wildlife is not merely about enduring cold. It is a complex battlefield where predator and prey relationships shift with the changing seasons, where food becomes increasingly scarce, and where every animal must navigate not only the elements, but also the hunger of their neighbors. The delicate balance that exists during the warmer months transforms into something far more desperate and primal when the mercury drops and the snow begins to fall in earnest. As autumn progresses toward winter, the first conflicts begin to emerge. Territory that was once abundant enough to share becomes precious real estate worth fighting for. Predators must adapt their hunting strategies as their traditional prey either disappears into hibernation or becomes harder to track through deep snow. Competition for resources intensifies as winter deepens. Even the smallest animals, like chickadees, must compete fiercely for access to the limited number of insects and seeds that remain available during the coldest months. The social dynamics within species also shift dramatically. Arctic foxes that may have been solitary during summer sometimes form loose associations to increase their chances of finding food. Bears that normally avoid each other, except during mating season, may find themselves competing for the same limited resources as they prepare for hibernation. These interactions can turn violent quickly, with the stakes being nothing less than survival through the long, dark months ahead. The Arctic fox emerges from its burrow as the first hints of dawn paint the snow-covered landscape in shades of blue and silver. Its transformation from the brown and gray coat of summer to the pristine white of winter is now complete, making it nearly invisible against the snow except for the black tip of its nose and the dark gleam of its eyes. This remarkable creature, weighing no more than a house cat, has evolved into one of nature's most efficient cold weather survivors. The fox's preparation for winter began months ago, long before the first snowfall. Throughout the brief Arctic summer, it feasted on lemmings, birds, eggs, and carrion, building up fat reserves that now comprise nearly 20% of its total body weight. These fat stores serve as both insulation and fuel, providing energy during the lean winter months when prey becomes scarce and hunting requires tremendous effort through deep snow. Its winter coat is a marvel. The fox has grown a dense undercoat of fine fur that traps warm air close to its body, while longer guard hairs provide protection from wind and moisture. The fur extends even to the pads of its feet, giving it natural snowshoes that distribute its weight and provide traction on icy surfaces. Its ears have become smaller and more rounded compared to summer, reducing heat loss, while its muzzle has shortened to minimize exposure to the frigid air. The fox pauses at the entrance to its den, testing the air with its acute senses. Its hearing is so refined that it can detect the movement of a lemming beneath 2 feet of snow. This ability, combined with its patience and lightning-fast reflexes, makes it a formidable hunter even in the harshest conditions. The den itself is a complex network of tunnels and chambers that the fox has either inherited from previous generations or excavated over several seasons. Some of these dens are centuries old, passed down through fox families and expanded over time into elaborate underground cities. As winter deepens, the fox's behavior becomes increasingly opportunistic. It follows polar bears at a respectful distance, waiting for the chance to scavenge from their kills. It raids the food storage of other animals when the opportunity arises. Most remarkably, it has learned to hunt seals at their breathing holes, a behavior that requires incredible patience and timing. The fox may wait motionless for hours beside a hole in the ice, ready to pounce the instant a seal surfaces for air. The fox's hunting technique in the snow is a sight to behold. It stands perfectly still, head cocked at an angle, listening for the faint sounds of prey moving beneath the surface. When it pinpoints the location, the fox leaps high into the air and dives headfirst into the snow, often disappearing completely. More often than not, it emerges with a lemming or vole clasped firmly in its jaws. This behavior, known as mousing, requires incredible precision and accounts for a significant portion of the fox's winter diet. Territory becomes crucial during winter months. A single fox may claim an area of up to 30 square kilometers, marking its boundaries with scent and defending them against intruders. These territories often overlap with the ranges of other predators, leading to dangerous encounters. The fox must constantly balance the need to hunt with the risk of becoming prey itself. Wolves, lynx, and even large owls pose significant threats to the Arctic fox, forcing it to remain constantly vigilant. The fox's denning behavior changes throughout the winter. During the coldest periods, it may remain in its burrow for days at a time, curled into a tight ball with its bushy tail wrapped around its body like a blanket. Its metabolic rate drops significantly during these rest periods, conserving energy for when hunting opportunities arise. The fox can survive temperature drops to -40 degrees Celsius by relying on its exceptional insulation and behavioral adaptations. Beneath the frozen surface of a shallow pond, a motionless form lies wedged between rocks and debris at the bottom. The northern leopard frog, its spotted green skin now darkened and still, appears lifeless in the murky water. Yet this amphibian is performing one of nature's most remarkable survival feats, existing in a state between life and death that allows it to endure months of winter freeze without breathing, eating, or moving. The leopard frog's preparation for winter survival begins in early autumn, when cooling temperatures trigger dramatic physiological changes. Unlike mammals that can generate their own body heat, this cold-blooded creature must find ways to survive when its environment drops below freezing. The frog begins producing special proteins and glucose compounds that act as natural antifreeze, preventing ice crystals from forming in its vital organs and tissues. As temperatures continue to drop, the frog seeks out the perfect winter refuge. It requires water deep enough that it won't freeze solid to the bottom, typically at least 3 to 4 feet deep. The frog settles into soft mud or wedges itself among rocks and submerged logs, positioning itself where a thin layer of unfrozen water will remain throughout the winter months. This precise location selection often means the difference between survival and death. The transformation that occurs as winter takes hold is extraordinary. The frog's metabolism slows to nearly undetectable levels, with its heart rate dropping to just a few beats per hour. Its breathing stops entirely as its lungs shut down, and instead the frog absorbs what little oxygen it needs directly through its skin from the surrounding water. Its digestive system completely halts, and brain activity becomes minimal, existing in a state comparable to suspended animation. The frog's skin becomes the key to its winter survival. Throughout the cold months, this remarkable organ continues to function as both a respiratory and excretory system. Specialized cells in the skin can extract dissolved oxygen from the water, while also eliminating carbon dioxide and other waste products. The skin must remain permeable, yet protected from freezing, a delicate balance maintained by the anti-freeze compounds circulating in the frog's blood. Positioning within the winter refuge is critical for survival. The frog must remain in the thin layer of water that stays above freezing, typically just inches from the ice surface. If it settles too deep, oxygen levels may become insufficient. Too shallow, and it risks freezing solid when extreme cold snaps push the ice deeper than usual. The frog's ability to sense these microenvironments and position itself correctly often determines whether it will see spring. The winter months pass in absolute stillness for the leopard frog. Unlike hibernating mammals that may stir occasionally, the frog remains completely motionless from November through March or April. Its body becomes so cold that it approaches the freezing point of water, yet the antifreeze proteins keep cellular damage from occurring. This state is so profound that the frog shows no response to stimuli that would normally trigger immediate escape responses. Oxygen management during this extended period presents unique challenges. The cold water holds more dissolved oxygen than warm water, but the frog's minimal movement means that water circulation around its body is limited. The frog's positioning and the subtle currents in its winter refuge become crucial for maintaining the tiny amount of oxygen exchange necessary to keep vital organs functioning at their extremely reduced levels. The frog's immune system essentially shuts down during winter, making it vulnerable to diseases and infections. However, the cold temperatures that threaten the frog also slow the growth of harmful bacteria and pathogens, creating a natural balance. Some research suggests that the antifreeze compounds may also have antimicrobial properties, providing additional protection during this vulnerable period. As spring approaches and water temperatures begin to rise, the frog must make the dangerous transition back to active life. This awakening process is gradual and critical, as too rapid a return to normal metabolism can cause cellular damage or death. The frog's heart slowly increases its rhythm, breathing resumes, and brain activity gradually returns to normal levels. This emergence from winter dormancy is often synchronized with the warming of shallow water and the return of insect prey. Deep beneath the prairie grasslands, an extensive network of tunnels and chambers houses one of Canada's most remarkable winter survivors. The Richardson's ground squirrel has spent months preparing an underground home that will protect it from the brutal cold above. Unlike its tree-dwelling cousins that remain active throughout winter, this ground-dwelling rodent has evolved the ability to enter true hibernation, shutting down its body for up to 8 months of the year. The ground squirrel's preparation for hibernation begins in earnest during late summer, when the animal enters a phase of intensive feeding and fat accumulation. Over the course of just a few weeks, the squirrel may increase its body weight by up to 40%, storing fat in specialized deposits throughout its body. This fat serves multiple purposes, providing energy during hibernation, insulating vital organs, and supplying the raw materials for specialized brown fat that can generate heat when needed. The burrow system that houses the hibernating squirrel is an engineering marvel that may take years to complete. The main hibernation chamber is located up to 3 meters below ground, well below the frost line where temperatures remain relatively stable throughout winter. Multiple entrance tunnels provide escape routes and ventilation, while side chambers serve as food storage areas and emergency shelters. The hibernation chamber itself is lined with grasses and other soft materials to provide insulation and comfort. As autumn temperatures begin to drop, the ground squirrel makes final preparations for its long sleep. It seals most of the burrow entrances with soil and vegetation, leaving only carefully concealed openings for air circulation. The animal gathers additional nesting material and creates a spherical nest within the hibernation chamber. Unlike animals that simply sleep deeply, the ground squirrel is preparing for a physiological transformation that borders on the miraculous. The onset of hibernation is triggered by decreasing daylight and dropping temperatures, but the process is controlled by internal biological clocks that have evolved over thousands of years. As the squirrel enters hibernation, its body temperature drops from a normal 37 degrees Celsius to as low as 2 degrees Celsius, just above freezing. Its heart rate plummets from over 300 beats per minute to fewer than 10 beats per minute, and its breathing becomes so slow and shallow that it may appear to have stopped entirely. The squirrel's metabolism during hibernation drops to less than 5% of its normal rate, allowing the animal to survive on stored fat reserves for months without eating. This dramatic reduction in energy expenditure is achieved through the coordinated shutdown of non-essential body systems. Kidney function slows dramatically, the digestive system becomes inactive, and even brain activity is reduced to minimal levels necessary for basic life support. Temperature regulation during hibernation presents unique challenges for the ground squirrel. While its body temperature drops dramatically, it must be precisely controlled to prevent freezing damage to tissues. Specialized brown fat deposits around vital organs can be rapidly metabolized to generate heat when needed. The squirrel's hibernation is periodically interrupted by brief arousal episodes where body temperature returns to normal for a few hours, allowing for essential maintenance functions. These arousal episodes occur every few weeks throughout the hibernation period and are among the most energy-expensive aspects of winter survival. During these brief awakenings, the squirrel may adjust its position, eliminate waste, and possibly consume small amounts of stored food. However, these arousals burn through fat reserves rapidly, making their frequency a critical balance between necessary maintenance and energy conservation. The burrow's microenvironment plays a crucial role in successful hibernation. The deep chamber provides protection from temperature fluctuations, while the surrounding soil acts as insulation. Humidity levels must be carefully maintained to prevent dehydration, while ventilation must be sufficient to prevent carbon dioxide buildup. The squirrel's choice of hibernation site and burrow construction directly impacts its chances of surviving until spring. Predation risks continue even during hibernation, as weasels, snakes, and other predators may discover and enter burrow systems. The ground squirrel's multiple escape tunnels and deep hibernation chamber provide some protection, but the animal's inability to respond quickly during deep hibernation makes it vulnerable. Some burrow systems include false chambers and maze-like tunnel networks that help confuse potential predators. The timing of emergence from hibernation is critical for the ground squirrel's survival and reproductive success. Emerging too early risks encountering late winter storms and food shortages, while emerging too late may mean missing the brief breeding season and optimal foraging opportunities. Males typically emerge first to establish territories and compete for mates, followed by females several weeks later. Through the deep snow of the boreal forest, a massive form moves with surprising grace between the towering spruce and fir trees. The moose, standing over 2 meters tall at the shoulder and weighing as much as a small car, represents one of nature's most impressive examples of how size can be an advantage in winter survival. This largest member of the deer family has evolved remarkable adaptations that allow it not just to survive, but to thrive in conditions that challenge even the most cold-adapted species. The moose's preparation for winter begins with a dramatic change in behavior and physiology during the autumn months. As daylight hours shorten and temperatures drop, the animal's metabolism begins to slow significantly, reducing its energy requirements by up to 30% compared to summer levels. This metabolic adjustment allows the moose to survive on lower quality food and reduced caloric intake during the months when nutritious vegetation becomes scarce. The moose's winter coat development is a masterpiece of natural insulation engineering. Beginning in late summer, the animal grows a dense layer of hollow guard hairs that can be up to 6 inches long. These hollow hairs trap air and provide exceptional insulation, while the dark color absorbs solar radiation to provide additional warming. Beneath this outer layer, a thick undercoat of fine fur creates additional insulation layers that keep the moose warm even in temperatures that drop below -40 degrees Celsius. The animal's massive size, which might seem like a disadvantage in deep snow, actually provides significant benefits for winter survival. The moose's long legs allow it to wade through snow that would trap smaller animals, and its broad hooves act like natural snowshoes, distributing its weight across the snow surface. The large body mass also provides thermal advantages, as the ratio of surface area to body volume means the moose loses heat more slowly than smaller animals. Feeding strategies undergo dramatic changes as winter progresses and snow depth increases. The moose shifts from the diverse diet of summer, which includes aquatic plants, leaves, and shoots, to a more limited winter menu focused primarily on woody browse. Willow, aspen, birch, and balsam fir twigs become the primary food sources, requiring the moose to consume up to 20 kilograms of woody material daily to meet its nutritional needs. The moose's digestive system has evolved specifically to handle this challenging winter diet. Its 4-chamber stomach, similar to that of cattle, allows for extended fermentation of woody plant material, breaking down cellulose and extracting nutrients from browse that would be indigestible to most other animals. This specialized digestion process generates significant internal heat, helping to maintain body temperature during the coldest periods. Foraging behavior becomes increasingly strategic as winter deepens. Moose learn to identify the most nutritious browse species and age classes, preferring younger twigs that contain higher levels of protein and digestible carbohydrates. They create distinctive feeding patterns, browsing systematically through areas and returning to productive sites repeatedly throughout the winter. This behavior creates visible browse lines in the forest where all accessible vegetation has been consumed up to the height the moose can reach. The moose's social behavior changes significantly during winter months. While generally solitary during summer, moose may form loose aggregations in areas with good browse availability and shelter from wind. These winter yards provide mutual benefits, with multiple animals creating packed trails through deep snow that reduce energy expenditure for all group members. However, competition for the best browse sites can lead to aggressive encounters between individuals. Thermoregulation presents unique challenges for such a large animal in extreme cold. While the moose's size and coat provide excellent insulation, the animal must carefully balance heat conservation with the heat generated by digestion and movement. During the coldest periods, moose may seek shelter in dense forest stands that provide wind protection, or they may actually lie down in snow to take advantage of its insulating properties. The moose's cardiovascular system has adapted to handle the demands of winter survival. The heart must work efficiently to circulate blood through the animal's massive frame while maintaining core body temperature. Blood flow to extremities may be reduced during extreme cold to conserve heat for vital organs, though the moose's thick coat extends far down its legs to provide protection for these vulnerable areas. Predation risks change dramatically during winter months. While adult moose have few natural predators due to their size and defensive capabilities, deep snow can make them more vulnerable to wolfpack attacks. The moose's ability to move through snow gives it advantages, but prolonged chases in deep snow can be exhausting. Wolves often target moose that are weakened by harsh winter conditions or trapped in areas where snow depth limits mobility. Energy conservation becomes critical as winter progresses and food quality declines. Moose develop efficient movement patterns, using established trails whenever possible, and avoiding unnecessary energy expenditure. They may reduce their daily activity periods, spending more time resting and less time actively foraging compared to summer behaviors. This behavioral adaptation helps stretch limited energy reserves through the longest, coldest months. Deep within the caves and abandoned mines of eastern Canada, a different kind of winter preparation is taking place. Little brown bats, creatures weighing less than half an ounce, are gathering in numbers that can reach into the thousands. These tiny mammals have developed perhaps the most extreme survival strategy of any warm-blooded animal. They essentially shut down their bodies for the entire winter in a state of suspended animation known as hibernation. The preparation for this remarkable feat begins in late summer, when the bats enter a period of intense feeding called hyperphagia. During these crucial weeks, a single bat may consume more than half its body weight in insects each night. This feeding frenzy allows them to accumulate fat reserves that will sustain them through the 6 to 7 months of hibernation that lie ahead. Their body weight can increase by up to 50% during this preparation phase. As autumn approaches, the bats begin the critical process of selecting their hibernation sites. They seek out locations that maintain stable temperatures just above freezing, have high humidity to prevent dehydration, and remain undisturbed throughout the winter months. Caves are preferred, but abandoned mines, old buildings, and even large tree hollows can serve the purpose. The bats may travel hundreds of kilometers to reach the perfect hibernation site, sometimes returning to the same location year after year. The clustering behavior of little brown bats during hibernation is essential for their survival. Hundreds or even thousands of individuals packed together on cave walls and ceilings, their tiny bodies pressed against one another. This clustering serves multiple purposes. It helps maintain stable temperatures, reduces water loss through shared humidity, and provides protection from predators that might venture into their roosting sites. Once hibernation begins, the bat's physiological transformation is nothing short of miraculous. Its heart rate drops from over 400 beats per minute to as few as 25 beats per minute. Its breathing becomes so slow and shallow that it may take several minutes between breaths. Body temperature plummets from 40 degrees Celsius to just above the ambient temperature of the cave, often hovering around 2 to 5 degrees Celsius. This dramatic reduction in metabolic activity allows the bat to survive on its fat reserves for months without eating. The bat's position during hibernation is carefully chosen. It hangs upside down from the cave ceiling, wrapped in its wings like a tiny cape. This position allows for quick awakening and flight if disturbed, while the wing membranes provide additional insulation. The bat's grip strength actually increases when it loses consciousness, ensuring that it won't fall from its perch during the long months of sleep. However, hibernation is not a completely static state. Periodically, every few weeks, the bats must arouse themselves from deep hibernation to perform essential bodily functions. These arousal episodes are extremely costly in terms of energy, burning through precious fat reserves rapidly. During these brief wakings, which may last only a few hours, the bats may move to different positions, drink water if available, and eliminate waste. Some researchers believe these arousals are necessary for immune system maintenance and cellular repair. The greatest threat to hibernating little brown bats has emerged in recent decades in the form of white nose syndrome, a fungal disease that grows on the muzzles and wings of hibernating bats. This fungus disrupts the hibernation process, causing bats to wake more frequently and depleting their fat reserves before spring arrives. Entire colonies that once numbered in the thousands have been reduced to just a few dozen survivors. Temperature fluctuations during hibernation can be deadly. If the cave temperature drops too low, the bats must burn additional energy to prevent their tissues from freezing. Conversely, if temperatures rise too much, their metabolic rate increases, burning through fat reserves more quickly. Climate change has begun to affect hibernation sites, with some locations becoming too warm or experiencing greater temperature variability than in the past. As winter progresses towards spring, the bats' fat reserves gradually diminish. By the time they emerge from hibernation, they may have lost up to half their body weight. The timing of emergence is critical, as they must coincide their awakening with the return of flying insects. Too early, and they risk starvation in a world still locked in winter's grip. Too late, and they miss the crucial early season insects needed to restore their strength for the breeding season ahead. The beaver lodge sits like a fortress in the middle of the frozen pond, its dome-shaped structure rising above the ice with an air of permanence and security. Inside this architectural marvel, a family of beavers has created a warm, dry sanctuary that will protect them from the brutal Canadian winter. The lodge represents months of dedicated construction work, engineering precision that rivals human achievements, and survival instincts honed over millions of years of evolution. Preparation for winter began in earnest during the late summer months when the beaver family worked tirelessly to strengthen their lodge and expand their food cache. The lodge itself is a masterpiece of natural construction, built with interwoven sticks, logs, mud, and stones. The interior chamber sits above the waterline, accessible only through underwater tunnels that remain unfrozen even when the surface ice grows thick enough to support the weight of a moose. The walls of the lodge are incredibly thick, sometimes reaching over 1 meter in width at the base. This massive construction provides excellent insulation, keeping the interior temperature significantly warmer than the outside air. On the coldest winter nights, when temperatures outside plummet to -30 degrees Celsius, the inside of the lodge may remain just above freezing, warmed by the body heat of its occupants and insulated by the frozen mud and stick walls. The beaver's most crucial winter preparation involves the creation of an underwater food cache. Throughout autumn, the industrious rodents fell dozens of trees, cut them into manageable sections, and drag them to deep water near their lodge. These branches and logs are then anchored to the pond bottom with rocks and mud, creating an underwater larder that will sustain the family throughout the winter months, when fresh vegetation is unavailable. The food cache must be carefully planned and constructed. Beavers prefer the inner bark of aspen, willow, and poplar trees, which provides the necessary nutrients and calories to maintain their large bodies during the inactive winter period. A family of 4 beavers may store several tons of wood in their cache, representing weeks of intensive labor. The cache must be positioned in water deep enough that it won't freeze solid, yet close enough to the lodge that the beavers can access it easily through their underwater tunnels. As winter settles over the landscape, the beaver pond becomes locked beneath a layer of ice that may grow to be several feet thick. For the beavers, this ice cover provides both protection and isolation. Predators like wolves and lynx can no longer reach them, but the beavers are also trapped beneath the ice for months at a time. Their entire world becomes the dark underwater realm between their lodge and their food cache. The beaver's physiology is perfectly adapted for this underwater winter lifestyle. Their lungs can hold enough air for dives lasting up to 15 minutes, allowing them to swim to their food cache, collect branches, and return to the lodge without surfacing. Their dense fur provides excellent insulation in the cold water, while their webbed feet and powerful tail make them incredibly efficient swimmers. Special valves in their ears and nose prevent water from entering during dives. Life inside the winter lodge follows a rhythm dictated by the need to conserve energy and maintain body heat. The beaver family huddles together for warmth, their combined body heat keeping the living chamber comfortable. They venture out into the frigid water only when necessary to retrieve food from their cache. The rest of their time is spent grooming their fur, which is essential for maintaining its insulating properties, and socializing with family members through quiet vocalizations and physical contact. The beaver's diet during winter consists almost entirely of wood and bark. Their powerful teeth and strong jaw muscles are well adapted for this challenging fare. They strip the nutritious inner bark from cached branches, consuming the softer cambium layer while discarding the harder outer bark and wood. This diet is low in protein and high in fiber, requiring the beavers to eat almost constantly when they're not sleeping to meet their caloric needs. Temperature regulation becomes critical during the winter months. Beavers cannot hibernate like some other mammals, so they must maintain their normal body temperature throughout the cold season. Their thick fur coat consists of 2 layers, a dense waterproof undercoat that traps air for insulation, and longer guard hairs that shed water and provide additional protection. Regular grooming is essential to maintain the effectiveness of this fur, and beavers spend considerable time each day cleaning and conditioning their coats with oil from special glands. The social dynamics within the beaver lodge during winter are fascinating to observe. The family unit, typically consisting of 2 adults and their offspring from the current and previous year, must coexist in the relatively small confines of the lodge for months. Conflicts are resolved through vocalizations, gentle physical contact, and established hierarchies. The adult pair maintains their bond through mutual grooming and shared responsibilities for maintaining the lodge and food supplies. A tiny form darts through the snow-laden branches of a spruce tree, its movement so quick and erratic that it seems to materialize and vanish in the same instant. The black-capped chickadee, weighing barely more than a few paper clips, represents one of nature's most remarkable examples of how size doesn't determine survival ability. These diminutive birds not only survive the Canadian winter, but actually thrive in conditions that drive much larger animals into hibernation or southern migration. The chickadees throughout the autumn months engage in intensive caching behavior, hiding thousands of seeds and insects in bark crevices, under lichens, and in other concealed locations throughout their territory. Each bird may create up to 1,000 individual caches, and remarkably, they can remember the location of each one for weeks or even months. This spatial memory is supported by seasonal growth in the hippocampus region of their brain, which actually increases in size during the caching season. The bird's physical transformation for winter survival is equally impressive. Its feathers undergo a complete molt in late autumn, replacing the lighter summer plumage with a dense winter coat that contains up to 30% more feathers. These feathers are arranged in multiple layers, creating dead air spaces that provide exceptional insulation. The chickadee can fluff its feathers to increase this insulating layer, sometimes doubling its apparent size when temperatures drop. Behavioral adaptations are equally important for winter survival. Chickadees form mixed species flocks during winter, joining with nuthatches, woodpeckers, and other small birds in loose associations that provide multiple benefits. These flocks offer increased vigilance against predators, shared knowledge of food sources, and the warming effect of multiple birds roosting together. The flock structure has a complex social hierarchy, with dominant birds gaining access to the best feeding areas and safest roosting spots. The chickadee's feeding behavior during winter is a marvel of efficiency and adaptation. Their diet shifts from the insects and spiders of summer to a combination of cached seeds, insect eggs and larvae found in bark crevices, and whatever fresh food they can locate. They have developed specialized feeding techniques, including hanging upside down from branches, to access food sources unavailable to larger birds. Their strong feet and sharp claws allow them to cling to the smallest twigs while searching for hidden insects. Torpor, a state of reduced metabolic activity, is perhaps the chickadee's most remarkable winter adaptation. On the coldest nights, these birds can lower their body temperature by up to 10 degrees Celsius and reduce their metabolic rate by up to 35%. This controlled hypothermia allows them to conserve precious energy during the long winter nights when temperatures may drop below -30 degrees Celsius. The bird must time this torpor carefully, as it becomes vulnerable to predators and requires additional energy to rewarm in the morning. Roosting sites become critical for winter survival. Chickadees seek out cavities in trees, old woodpecker holes, and dense vegetation for overnight shelter. These roosting spots provide protection from wind and predators while helping to conserve body heat. Sometimes, multiple birds will roost together in the same cavity, sharing body heat through the coldest nights. The selection of roosting sites is a learned behavior, with experienced birds teaching younger ones the location of the best shelters. The chickadee's brain undergoes remarkable seasonal changes to support winter survival. In addition to the hippocampal growth that supports spatial memory for cached food, regions associated with singing actually shrink during winter to redirect energy toward survival functions. The bird's vocalizations change as well, with the complex songs of spring and summer replaced by simpler calls that help maintain flock cohesion and communication in harsh conditions. Foraging during winter requires incredible persistence and energy efficiency. A chickadee must find and consume food equivalent to 20 to 25% of its body weight every day just to survive. This means locating and eating a seed or insect every few seconds during daylight hours. The bird's search patterns are methodical and exhaustive, covering every inch of bark and examining every twig and needle cluster for potential food sources. The relationship between chickadees and their cached food supplies creates interesting dynamics with other wildlife. Squirrels, other bird species, and even insects may raid chickadee caches, forcing the birds to constantly monitor and defend their stored resources. Conversely, chickadees may opportunistically feed from caches created by other species, particularly nuthatches and woodpeckers. Weather presents constant challenges for these tiny birds. Ice storms can coat trees and make food sources inaccessible for days. Deep snow can bury low-growing plants and ground-level food sources. High winds can make flight dangerous and increase energy expenditure dramatically. Chickadees have learned to take advantage of brief weather windows, intensifying their feeding activity during calm periods and seeking shelter during storms. Through the deep snow of the boreal forest, a shadow moves with liquid grace between the dark trunks of spruce and fir trees. The Canada lynx, with its oversized paws and tufted ears, is perfectly adapted for life in this snow-covered wilderness. Unlike many predators that struggle during the harsh winter months, the lynx has evolved to be most successful when the snow is deepest and the cold most severe. The lynx's most distinctive feature, its enormous snowshoe-like paws, gives it a tremendous advantage in deep snow conditions. These oversized feet, nearly twice the size of those of a similarly sized mountain lion, distribute the cat's weight so effectively that it can walk on top of snow that would cause other predators to sink and struggle. The paws are also heavily furred, providing both insulation and additional traction on icy surfaces. Winter preparation for the Canada lynx is less about storing food or growing thicker fur than it is about positioning and patience. The lynx cannot hibernate, nor does it migrate to warmer climates. Instead, it has evolved to take advantage of winter conditions that actually improve its hunting success. As snow accumulates and temperatures drop, the lynx's primary prey, the snowshoe hare, becomes increasingly vulnerable and easier to track. The relationship between the Canada lynx and the snowshoe hare is one of the most studied predator-prey relationships in nature. Their populations rise and fall in predictable cycles, with lynx numbers following hare populations by about 2 years. During peak hare years, a lynx territory may be relatively small, sometimes covering only 10 to 15 square kilometers. During hare population crashes, the same lynx may need to range over an area 10 times larger to find sufficient prey. The lynx's hunting strategy during winter is a masterpiece of stealth and patience. Its thick fur coat, which grows up to 70% denser during winter months, allows it to remain motionless for hours in sub-zero temperatures, while waiting for prey to approach. The cat's coloration, a mottled brown and gray with darker spots, provides excellent camouflage among the shadows and filtered light of the winter forest. Tracking through snow presents both opportunities and challenges for the lynx. While the snow makes it easier to follow prey trails, it also means that the lynx's own tracks are visible to potential prey and competitors. The cat has learned to use existing trails when possible, following deer paths, frozen stream beds, and other natural corridors to minimize the energy cost of movement through deep snow. The lynx's acute senses are particularly valuable during winter hunting. Its exceptional hearing can detect the movement of prey beneath the snow, similar to the Arctic fox's mousing behavior. Its large eyes are adapted for low light conditions, giving it an advantage during the long twilight periods of northern winters. The cat's sensitive whiskers help it navigate in darkness and detect air movements that might indicate the presence of prey. Winter dens are not elaborate constructions like those of bears or wolves, but rather simple shelters that provide protection from the worst weather. A lynx might use a hollow log, a rock outcropping, or a dense thicket of evergreen branches. These shelters are temporary, with the cat moving frequently throughout its territory as it follows prey movements and avoids areas where hunting has been unsuccessful. The lynx's solitary nature becomes more pronounced during winter months. While they may occasionally scavenge from wolf kills or other carrion sources, they primarily hunt alone and maintain territories that overlap minimally with other lynx. Scent marking becomes important for communication, with the cats leaving urine marks and scratch posts that convey information about territory boundaries, reproductive status, and individual identity. Reproduction timing is closely tied to winter survival strategies. Mating occurs during late winter when prey abundance and weather conditions can be most accurately assessed. Females delay implantation of fertilized eggs, ensuring that births occur in late spring when hunting conditions are optimal, and prey species are having their own reproductive boom. This timing ensures that mothers have abundant food while nursing and teaching their young to hunt. The Canada lynx faces unique challenges during extreme weather events. Ice storms can make tree climbing dangerous and eliminate the acoustic advantages the cat relies on for detecting prey. Periods of warm weather that create crusty snow conditions can actually disadvantage the lynx, as the crust that supports their weight may also support the weight of their prey, eliminating the advantage of their snowshoe paws. Competition with other predators intensifies during winter months. Gray wolves, coyotes, and even wolverines may steal kills from lynx or compete for the same prey resources. The lynx must constantly balance the energy expenditure of hunting with the risk of losing prey to larger, more aggressive predators. Their climbing ability provides an escape route and storage option for kills, with lynx sometimes caching prey in tree branches away from ground-dwelling scavengers. The massive form of a grizzly bear moves slowly through the autumn forest, its thick coat already beginning to show the dense undercoat that will insulate it through the coming winter. Every step is deliberate, every foraging session crucial, as this apex predator prepares for one of nature's most remarkable survival strategies. The grizzly bear's approach to winter survival, hibernation, represents millions of years of evolutionary refinement and physiological adaptation. The bear's preparation for hibernation, known as hyperphagia, transforms it into an eating machine of incredible proportions. During the late summer and autumn months, a grizzly may consume up to 20,000 calories per day, compared to the 5,000 calories it might eat during summer. This feeding frenzy can result in weight gains of 3 to 4 pounds per day, with some bears doubling their body weight before entering hibernation. Every berry, salmon, root, and small mammal becomes crucial fuel for the long sleep ahead. The selection of a hibernation den is a critical decision that the bear makes with careful consideration of multiple factors. The ideal den provides insulation from cold, protection from precipitation, stability to prevent collapse, and concealment from potential threats. Bears may excavate new dens each year or renovate existing sites, sometimes spending weeks preparing the perfect winter shelter. Den sites are typically located on north-facing slopes where snow accumulation will provide additional insulation. The den itself is a marvel of natural architecture. Excavated into hillsides, under root systems, or in natural caves, the chamber is just large enough for the bear to enter, turn around, and lie down comfortably. The entrance tunnel is deliberately small to minimize heat loss, and is often angled upward to prevent cold air from flowing into the sleeping chamber. The bear lines the den with grasses, leaves, and other soft materials to create a comfortable bed. As winter approaches and the bear enters its den, one of the most remarkable physiological transformations in the animal kingdom begins. Unlike true hibernators such as ground squirrels or bats, bears enter a state called torpor, where their body functions slow dramatically, but they remain capable of arousing if threatened. The bear's heart rate drops from a normal 40 to 50 beats per minute to as low as 8 beats per minute. Its breathing becomes slow and shallow, sometimes with long pauses between breaths. The bear's body temperature drops only slightly, from about 38 degrees Celsius to approximately 34 degrees Celsius. This relatively modest temperature reduction, combined with the bear's large body mass and thick fur, helps maintain critical organ function while dramatically reducing energy requirements. The bear's metabolic rate drops to about 25% of its normal level, allowing it to survive on stored fat reserves for up to 7 months without eating, drinking, urinating, or defecating. Perhaps most remarkably, pregnant female bears give birth during hibernation, typically in January or February. The cubs, born tiny and helpless, nurse and grow in the warmth of the den while their mother remains in her torpid state. The female's ability to produce rich milk while her own body survives on fat reserves represents one of nature's most impressive feats of biological engineering. The cubs remain in the den with their mother until spring, learning essential survival skills in the safety of their underground nursery. The bear's fat reserves serve multiple purposes beyond simple energy storage. The fat acts as insulation, helping to maintain body temperature in the cold den. Specialized brown fat deposits around critical organs provide rapid heat generation when needed. The bear's body also recycles urea, which would normally be toxic, converting it back into useful proteins, preventing muscle loss during the long period of inactivity. Water balance during hibernation presents unique challenges that the bear's body handles through remarkable adaptations. Bears neither drink nor urinate during hibernation, instead recycling water from fat metabolism and reabsorbing water from the bladder. This recycling prevents dehydration while avoiding the need to leave the den during the coldest months. The bear's kidneys and liver work in perfect coordination to maintain proper electrolyte balance throughout the hibernation period. The timing of den entrance and emergence is influenced by multiple environmental and physiological factors. Bears typically enter their dens when food becomes scarce and consistent snow cover develops, usually between October and December. Emergence occurs when warming temperatures begin to melt snow and early spring foods become available, typically between March and May. Pregnant females with newborn cubs are usually the last to emerge, ensuring that their offspring are strong enough to survive in the outside world. Not all bears hibernate with equal success, and the quality of the pre-hibernation feeding season directly impacts winter survival. Bears that enter hibernation without sufficient fat reserves may be forced to leave their dens during winter to search for food, a dangerous proposition that often results in death. Climate change has begun to affect hibernation patterns, with warmer winters sometimes causing bears to emerge too early before adequate food sources are available. Den disturbance represents a serious threat to hibernating bears. Human activities, logging, mining, or even wildlife research can cause bears to abandon dens, forcing them to find new shelter sites during the most challenging time of year. Repeated disturbances can deplete energy reserves and reduce cub survival rates significantly. The haunting sound cuts through the crisp winter air, carrying across kilometers of snow-covered wilderness with a clarity that speaks of open spaces and untamed landscapes. The howl of the gray wolf is answered by another, then another, until the night resonates with the wild symphony of a pack communicating across their vast territory. These apex predators have not just adapted to winter survival, they have mastered it, turning the season's challenges into advantages through remarkable social cooperation and evolutionary refinement. The gray wolf's winter preparation is fundamentally different from that of solitary animals or hibernating species. As highly social predators, wolves must coordinate their activities as a pack, while also ensuring that each individual is physically prepared for the demanding months ahead. During autumn, pack members focus on building up fat reserves through successful hunts, but they cannot simply gorge themselves like bears. Their survival depends on maintaining peak physical condition for hunting throughout the winter months. The pack's social structure becomes even more critical during winter. The alpha pair leads not only hunting expeditions, but also makes crucial decisions about territory, denning sites, and resource allocation. The pack hierarchy determines feeding order at kills, with dominant animals eating first to ensure they maintain the strength needed for successful hunting. This social organization ensures that the most capable hunters remain in top condition to provide for the entire group. Wolf fur undergoes a dramatic transformation for winter, growing into a double-layered coat that provides exceptional insulation. The outer guard hairs repel moisture and wind, while the dense undercoat traps warm air close to the skin. This winter coat is so effective that wolves can sleep comfortably in snow, even when temperatures drop to -40 degrees Celsius. They often curl into a tight ball with their bushy tail wrapped around their nose and paws, using their own body heat to create a warm microclimate. Hunting strategies adapt significantly to winter conditions. The pack's ability to work together becomes even more valuable when pursuing prey through deep snow. Wolves will take turns breaking trail through deep snow, with led animals expending tremendous energy, while those following benefit from the packed path. When hunting large prey like elk or moose, the pack uses the snow to their advantage, driving prey into deeper drifts where the ungulates become disadvantaged by their greater weight and smaller surface area on their hooves. The wolf's large paws function like natural snowshoes, distributing their weight more effectively than the hooves of their prey. Their powerful legs and efficient gait allow them to travel great distances through snow without excessive energy expenditure. A wolf pack may cover 30 to 50 kilometers in a single day while hunting, following prey trails and investigating potential food sources across their territory. Territory maintenance during winter requires constant vigilance and energy expenditure. The pack must patrol boundaries that may encompass 200 to 1,000 square kilometers, marking their territory with scent posts, and maintaining awareness of neighboring packs and other predators. Winter territories often overlap with those of other predator species, leading to potentially dangerous encounters with bears emerging from hibernation, lynx defending kills, or coyote packs competing for similar resources. Scavenging becomes increasingly important during the harshest winter months. Wolves will readily feed on carrion, including animals that have died from cold, starvation, or other predators. This opportunistic feeding helps conserve energy that would otherwise be spent on hunting and provides essential nutrition during lean periods. The pack's social structure ensures that even scavenging opportunities are utilized efficiently, with scouts locating carcasses and the pack working together to defend valuable food sources from other scavengers. Den sites during winter serve primarily as shelter during severe weather, rather than permanent homes. Wolves may use rock outcroppings, dense forest, or even abandoned beaver lodges for temporary shelter during blizzards or extreme cold snaps. These shelters provide wind protection and help conserve body heat during the most challenging conditions. Unlike many other species, wolves remain active throughout winter, hunting and traveling regardless of weather conditions. The pack's communication system becomes essential for coordination during winter hunts and travel. Howling serves multiple purposes. It helps maintain contact between pack members across large distances, coordinates hunting activities, and reinforces social bonds within the group. The acoustic properties of winter air, particularly during cold, still nights, allow these vocalizations to carry much farther than during other seasons. Reproduction timing in wolves is closely tied to winter survival and resource availability. Mating occurs during late winter, typically February or March, when the pack can assess their territory's carrying capacity and the success of their winter survival strategies. The alpha female's pregnancy timing ensures that pups are born in late spring, when prey animals are having their own reproductive boom, providing abundant food for the nursing mother and growing family. Pack dynamics during winter can be severely tested by food scarcity and harsh conditions. Weaker or subordinate pack members may be forced to leave the group, becoming lone wolves that face dramatically reduced survival chances. These dispersing wolves must establish new territories or find mates to form new packs, a dangerous process that often occurs during the worst weather conditions. The mortality rate for lone wolves during winter can exceed 80%. Interspecies interactions intensify during winter months as competition for limited resources increases. Wolf packs may come into conflict with grizzly bears emerging from hibernation, compete with coyote packs for smaller prey, or clash with lynx over kill sites. These encounters can be deadly, with injuries potentially fatal when medical resources are unavailable and energy reserves are critical for survival. The remarkable adaptations that allow these species to thrive in Canada's brutal winters represent millions of years of evolutionary refinement. Each animal has developed unique strategies that seem almost impossibly specialized. These adaptations create a complex web of interactions that define the Canadian winter ecosystem. Yet this ancient balance now faces unprecedented challenges from human activity. Climate change is altering the fundamental parameters that these animals have evolved to exploit. Warmer winters disrupt hibernation cycles, unpredictable weather patterns affect food availability, and changing precipitation alter snow conditions that many species depend upon for hunting and survival. The human impact on these remarkable winter survivors presents a sobering counterpoint to their extraordinary adaptations. Our influence reaches into even the most remote wilderness areas, affecting these animals in ways both obvious and subtle, immediate and long-term. Industrial development fragments the vast territories that wolves require for successful pack hunting. Roads, pipelines, logging operations, and mining activities create barriers that disrupt pack movements and force wolves into conflict with human activities. The resulting habitat fragmentation makes it increasingly difficult for packs to maintain the large territories they need to survive harsh winters. Beaver populations, while stable in many areas, face pressure from changing water levels caused by dam construction, water diversions, and altered precipitation patterns. Their carefully engineered pond systems depend on predictable water flows and seasonal patterns that human water management increasingly disrupts. Grizzly bear hibernation sites are increasingly disturbed by human activities. Logging, mining, recreational vehicle use, and even wildlife research can force bears from their dens during critical hibernation periods. Climate change compounds these problems by creating unpredictable den conditions and altering the timing of food availability that bears depend on for pre-hibernation weight gain. However, conservation efforts offer hope for these remarkable species. Protected wilderness areas preserve critical habitat and maintain the ecosystem connections these animals require. Research programs help us understand their needs and develop better conservation strategies. Indigenous knowledge and traditional ecological practices provide valuable insights into sustainable coexistence with winter wildlife. The future of these species will largely depend on decisions being made today about energy policy, land use, and conservation priorities. Each of these remarkable animals has proven their ability to survive nature's harshest tests. The question now is whether they can survive the test of human influence on their ancient winter world. In the end, the story of winter survival in Canada is not just about individual species and their remarkable adaptations. It is about the resilience of life itself, the power of evolution to create solutions to seemingly impossible challenges, and the interconnected web of relationships that sustain entire ecosystems through the darkest and coldest months of the year. These 7 species have mastered the art of survival in conditions that would quickly claim human life. Their success represents millions of years of trial and error, natural selection, and evolutionary refinement. They remind us that life finds a way, even in the most extreme circumstances, and that the diversity of survival strategies is as beautiful as it is functional. As the aurora borealis dances across the star-filled sky above the Canadian wilderness, these remarkable creatures continue their ancient routines of survival. The Arctic fox hunts silently through the snow, the bats sleep peacefully in their caves, the beavers rest safely in their lodges, the chickadees cache seeds for tomorrow's meal, the lynx patiently stalks through the forest, the bears dream in their winter dens, and the wolves sing their wild songs to the frozen moon. Their stories continue, season after season, year after year, a testament to the incredible power of adaptation and the enduring strength of the wild places that still exist in our world. In protecting them, we protect not just individual species but the very processes that create and sustain the diversity of life on Earth. Amazed by how animals survive the extreme cold in Canada? Tell us which survival instinct shocked you the most and drop your favorites in the comments. Think these creatures and their frozen home deserve more love? Share this video and help spread the word. Love this glimpse into the wild north? Check out our previous video on the wildlife of the African savanna, full of unexpected animal wonders. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss our next wild journey. See you soon.